So I will officially open this meeting and ask if there are any additions to the agenda for today's meeting, not May 23rd. It says May 23rd, but
June 20th.
Any additions to the agenda? Hearing none, I think we will accept it as approved. Public comment. Is there any comment? I don't see any additional public, but Charlie, you're manning the
Yeah, I don't see any hands up. I think we're
okay.
see?
I see Dean Geddes and David's on. I guess that's it. So seeing no and hearing no public comment, I'll look for approval of the minutes of February 15th. Do I have a motion? Thank you,
Motion
Nikki.
to approve.
And a second, Merrill.
Aye.
Thank you.
Yes.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
And seeing none opposed, we will accept those as approved. And then before we get into a discussion of membership and elections, I would be remiss not to say how much we will miss Ken Beaugrand and what he brought to the Parks and Rec Commission as our CPC representative, and what he has meant to their town. Excuse me. Ken was a good friend as well as a colleague, and we will miss him dearly.
Sure.
Discussion of membership and the August elections. And Charlie, you want to tell us what's on tap for that?
I believe we have Jesse Dutra going to be joining us as a commissioner. He has submitted he's filled out an application, which is pending final processing with a meeting that I will have in person with Libby and Jesse. And then if he is appointed, he will join us hopefully in our first meeting in July, the new fiscal year. And at that point, we'll have an open discussion to select the chair, vice chair, and secretary. And then subsequently, who would like to be the delegate from Parks and Rec Commission on the CPC committee.
And I believe that you or Maureen added in our packet, if you had a moment to look at that, all of the information about the CPC and the expectations for the representative. I hope if you haven't had a chance to look at that, you'll take a good look before we have to decide who that representative is going to be.
It is fairly heavy lifting.
Yeah, there are quite a few meetings. From what I understand or understood from Ken, it's very interesting because you are examining all of the projects that are presented, but it's also very time consuming. So commissioners, please take a look at that prior to the July and August meetings.
I'm not sure if how familiar everyone is. One of the things that I actually put forward on behalf of the Cemetery Commission this year was we put in for a grant for almost $150,000 to complete restoration work to the historic cemeteries. So it's all nature of things, from cemetery restoration work to, I know some of the churches have put in for, work on bell towers, and that's a very interesting committee to serve on.
Yep. Okay, so having covered that, I think the other thing that we wanted to talk about, and whether we decide this tonight or whether we wait for the July meeting, are there any changes to the meeting schedule, including new time and dates. We had planned at our last meeting to go back to in-person meetings, and I would say that we actually are a hybrid right now because Charlie is, manning the in-person place. So I suspect that that will happen, although it may be September when the traffic slows down, that we all decide to go out and attend in person.
Just
There's
something to think about, as well as, if this, this third Thursday works, and if the 4 o'clock time slot works, if later in the day would make it easier for everyone, whether it be, 5 o'clock or sometime there, and we can then examine, if, Thursday works and we push it back a little bit, we can take a look at maybe using the meeting trailer at Center Island. We'll just have to check the schedule on that and kind of progress from there.
Nikki and Meryl, do you have any thoughts on times?
I think maybe a little later this time of year, especially. I think 5 o'clock might be better, and definitely more midtown than Madigan,
Yeah.
just because of traffic. But yeah.
Yeah, the later the better for me right now, but and same, Mid-Island would be easier, but here I am.
Do we know if 5 o'clock would work for Andre?
I'm not sure. I can reach out and I will, so I'll reach out to him and I'll also double check and take a look at the trailer schedule to see if
Okay.
he's booked into a room there for 5 o'clock on the same day. And then if not, I will propose maybe a different day of the week if we're unable.
Okay.
I do
Nick-
have one quick question. If Jesse is, sworn in, should we maybe wait and talk to Jesse and see what might work for him? So at least we always have a quorum, because it has been an issue the last few months. So
I think that's a great idea. I think, it's always difficult for this particular commission to get a quorum, and Nikki and Meryl, you guys have been great. But we need to make it as easy as possible for everyone to attend. So let's, Charlie, if you would reach out to Jesse and see what might work for him and Andre, then maybe we can set that meeting in time for the July meeting.
Can do. I know from my preliminary talk with Jesse about kind of introducing him to what we do, I mentioned, the time slot, and he said a little later might work for him. So hopefully that 5 o'clock will work well, but we'll reach out and from there.
Okay.
Mike, can I
Any-
interject
Dave?
real quick?
Yeah, go ahead, David.
Chantal Blois Murphy is trying to get in the waiting room. Is there somebody who lets them in, or is she in a
That would
different
be
waiting room?
Charlie.
Oh, that's me. I'm just not used to keeping an eye on that. Sorry.
Okay.
But she's in now.
All right. Thank you.
And I think that it might be good to hear from support staff on any change of time. And I don't mean necessarily support staff, but other people who regularly attend this meeting and what hardships it might create for them. I think we need to know that as well. Marina, is a 5 o'clock better, worse?
4 o'clock works best for me, what we have right now, but if 5 works better for everyone who's in Park and Rec Commission, we'll do 5 o'clock.
Okay. Anybody else want to pipe in on that date and time? Okay, so we have some things to explore on that. At this point, let's go to the licensing office. Marina, I think you have 2 requests to bring before us tonight.
Charlie, can you check if Diana Blau in the waiting room? She was supposed to attend.
I don't see.
You don't
her
see
in the
her.
waiting room. You want to do the Summer Street Church first and see if she arrives?
Sure.
Okay, yeah, we can start with the Summer Street Church request. So the submitted application with request for the date July 28th, and it got changed to July 21st, but right now as alternative rain date on the application, they have August 4th, and that is a date they would like to have request for. And I'll let Summer Street Church to explain what they're trying to do at Children's Beach.
Thanks, everybody. I'm Derek. If we haven't had a chance to meet yet, I'm the pastor at Summer Street. And for many years, like St. Paul's and maybe others as well, one Sunday per summer, we, after our service, have a go down to Sanctity. I'm sorry, go down to one of the other beaches, not Sanctity, that'd be way too far, and have a baptism. And it's always like pretty low key and that sort of thing. But we've had in mind for the last couple of years to potentially do our service at a location where we could do the baptism there as a part of the service. And so in essence, that's basically sort of what we're looking to do, which is to have a modified kind of Sunday morning experience where we've got a band that plays great music. There'll be some similar elements that we would normally have on a Sunday morning. But the real focus of that day is going to be on those actual baptisms. And so yeah, we've been to several things at Children's Beach, and we've got people in our church that have played music at the, sort of band, I don't know what's called. I call it a band shell, whatever that, the official term for that space is called. And we've thought, oh, that'd be a cool place to try something like this. So anyway, that's sort of the idea. I'm open to any questions you might have about that day or what plans we have or whatever, but it doesn't involve any sort of like food or really setup other than sort of like the band sort of setup.
I suppose we could call it a quarter shell since it's hardly a half shell.
Okay, sure.
But are there any implications for the music on a Sunday morning? I guess that would be my one thought. And, I don't know what that would mean for neighbors like the White Elephant or anybody else. Is that an issue at all? Is that something that we need to consider? David,
I whatever the noise bylaws are, I think it's like from 7:30 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night that you can have music. But, I'm not sure what the circumstances are with the neighbors at that time of day on a Sunday, but, I don't see any issue with it on our end because we don't have anything scheduled there at that point.
And I'm not suggesting that the music would be intrusive, but I don't know what it is that you're planning, from chamber music to jazz or hard rock. I don't know what the plan is.
Well, it's certainly not hard rock. That'd be a little much, but the closest thing, it's sort of more, I don't know, somewhere between sort of jazz and pop style, I guess. We do have drums, we do have a keyboard, we do have bass, that kind of thing, 4 or 5 players and a couple of singers. The service doesn't start until 10:15, and so hopefully that's, if you're staying on Nantucket and not up by 10:15, you're wasting your time. So maybe we'd be doing people a favor, I don't know, but anyway, I don't know if that helps.
Okay, absent a noise or sound ordinance, as David said, I don't know that that's in our purview. So I guess I would ask commissioners if they have any further questions.
I was wondering, so you want to change the date from July 21st to August 4th, just confirming that.
Yeah, we were trying to get the application in for the last meeting. And so we kind of didn't have all of our information on our end for our date. And so when it got kicked to this one, we were able to sort of like focus in a little bit better. And so that sort of rain date actually ends up being the best date for us to try to pull that off, first Sunday in August.
Okay,
And then would you have a rain date, a new rain date? Because you wouldn't use the earlier date as your rain date.
Yeah, we just bump it to the following Sunday, like whatever, was that the 11th, something like that? Is that what that is? Yeah.
And I'd say, David, again, is that the 11th is the rain date a problem?
Yeah, our Sundays are clear at this point.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve.
I approve.
Thank you, Merrill.
I
and
sec-
Nikki,
I
a
second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 And seeing none opposed, you have approval. Or
Guys, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Look forward to meeting some of you in person someday.
Okay, thank you.
Take care.
Now, Marina, I don't see Diana. I do feel a little bit bad because she was at last month's meeting and we didn't have a quorum, and I'm wondering if you've heard from her and if we can approve without her being here, if that's helpful.
So yeah, unfortunately, she was at the meeting last time when we didn't have a quorum, so we got to meet her briefly. So technically, she was just asking to have 45 minutes on the band stage. She's the author of children's books, and she would like to do book reading of one of her books. And after that, she was thinking to do like a small craft with teddy bears. So that event was like a really low-key event, and it looked like a perfect location, Children's Beach, for such activity. She has July 3rd from 10 a.m. till 10:45 as initial request, and then she has a rain date as July 2nd. So there's like no food, no music, and she expect to have around 20 children with families.
Well, so she's asking for July 3rd, but a rain date the day before.
Correct. Yes. So I guess we're gonna check the weather forecast and see. I think her first choice is July 3rd, and if it doesn't look good for July 3rd, she's gonna have it one day before.
Okay. All right. Any questions from commissioners?
Not me.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Not
Nikki,
approve.
thank
Yeah.
you, and Merrill second.
A second, yeah.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Seeing none opposed, that's approved unanimously, and we can have you let her know, Marina, that'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And now I'll turn things over to Charlie for an update on Nobadeer Field, and then also I think you're going to do the town meeting recap.
Yeah.
Sorry, just 1 second. Are we skipping? Is Michelle Birmingham? She isn't here.
She withdrew her request.
She already did it? Wait.
She withdrew it.
She withdrew her request. They found an indoor space, so she no longer needs actual.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Withdrew her. Sorry, Charlie, you're echoing a little bit, so I was
Sorry.
having a hard time understanding you.
So Nobadeer Fields, the building, there's not much to update on. We're still waiting to officially take ownership. We're waiting for the project manager to settle some books for our finance department. But for now, the bathrooms are open, operational. They were closed. 2 of them were closed for a little bit due to damage to the doors from one of those big wind and rainstorms we had, and it was the end of April or so. So that's all been repaired. Everything's up and running and going pretty smoothly. As far as annual town meeting, everything went pretty well for Parks and Rec. We were approved for the 2 vehicles that we asked for the department. as part of looking forward to our future growth. We were approved for the turf maintenance equipment, which is a Toro Outcross, which is a all-wheel steer, all-wheel drive, really golf course piece of equipment that will allow us to better, get on the fields with a light footprint for doing maintenance and sort of things. And that will, we're looking to get a bunch of different attachments that will be pulled behind to maintain the field, such as aerators, slice seeders, top dressing equipment, and a big triplex mower to try to keep fields stuff as efficiently as possible. And it will also allow us to purchase grooming equipment for the synthetic field, so we can keep that maintained. The hope is we can take these contracts that we are currently we have out with other people and bring them in-house, which is great. We also got approval for the funds for the playground at the Novardir Fields, which is excellent. That was like $670,000 or so. We also got the cost, and we're also approved for the Tom Nevers playground funds, which is about $150,000. So those funds will be coming available to us shortly after the turn of the fiscal year, and hopefully at one of our meetings, maybe either July or August, I'd like to revisit the proposed structures with everybody, make sure we all are on board moving forward. One of the thoughts I had, particularly for Novardir, is I see that being a very highly used playground, maybe swapping out one of the structures for something with shade, just because it's a pretty open area. So either, we've got this amount of money we can work in, so we can kind of play with what's in the actual playground itself. So whether it be a tower sort of structure with some sort of shade, or maybe shade cloths or something, just to provide some shade from the sun, from the sun in a very highly used, will hopefully be a very highly used playground. Let's see. Article 15, we were approved for the request of $2 million for the debris out at Tom Nevers Beach. That is kind of a drop in the bucket of what will be the overall cost for that project. We've got some preliminary numbers, and that total cleanup might be in the neighborhood of about $8 million. And it's one of these tough things that the permitting process takes so long. I'm not sure if everyone's been out there since the winter, but we lost about 30 feet of bluff frontage there, which is now causing everything that was designed to have to be kind of reworked. So the bluff restoration is based on the existing topography that is there, and as that topography changed, we'll have to have that bluff face resurveyed and those plans adjusted, and then start the permitting process again, which could take up to 18 months now that some of the concrete structures are in the mean tide line, which unfortunately triggers Army Corps of Engineers, which is a very slow process. So any questions on anything so far?
No questions, but I'm not surprised. I have seen it, and it's crazy what the damage that one storm did. So yeah,
I think I mean, it begs the question, how many more storms like that are we
Right.
going to have out there, and what effect will that have on the plan that we had previously, right? So
Yeah, I mean, it's the hope is it stabilizes. It's one of those things that up until these recent storms, that particular section of beach had actually survived for, it had nothing had really drastically changed in, I was talking to Vince, I think he said 5 or 6 years or more, that had been, had a very heavy, there's a very big toe to the beach, so the bluff face itself was actually pretty protected, but this one storm just came in with the right amount of, tide force and the right wind, and took a bite out of us.
well, and all the way down past Stone Beach, really,
Yeah.
that whole stretch really lost a lot.
Yeah, I mean, they had to close a cell at the sewer plant.
Yeah.
It's so hopefully we get a little break from Mother Nature and get it through permitting, get the project started, get the stuff kind of cleaned up off the beach, and go from there. So we are also working with trying to get some federal funding to help offset costs there. So there's a program called FUDS, FUDS, stands for Formerly Used Defense Sites. And it's federal funding that's been made available to essentially clean up old military sites that have been abandoned.
Great.
So we're working on trying to secure some funding there, because I think this in Nantucket, we tick like 3 or 4 boxes to be able to get access to these funds. So that is also in the works, which would be a great help.
That would be. And did you mention the Jetties tennis courts?
No, that's the next one on the list. So we were
Okay.
for all the funding we asked for, the $1.9 million to reconstruct the courts. The plan will be to put that out to bid as soon as we cross into the new fiscal year, with the hope of getting a successful bid in place and a contract lined up, and probably plan to close the courts early, right after Labor Day, if we can get everybody lined up, and try to get the construction completely done over the fall, and so that we're ready to open as soon as the weather breaks for us in the spring, with new courts, everything complete and finished.
So I suspect that there are still quite a few people who typically use those courts in the fall, and in fact, I know they do. And I would imagine that you will be communicating with Travis Lombardi so that we can educate the community that the school courts would be available as an alternative site. Am I right?
Yeah, we'll have to hopefully get the school permission to use those courts. I don't know how much they're open to the public at the moment, but I'm hoping they will make them available to us. And as soon as we know our start date, we'll be doing a lot of outreach to the community to let them know that we will be closing. Why we will close so early, because the hope is that we can get the courts done while it's still warm, the concrete in place while it's still warm enough that we can get them painted in the fall. So that way we don't kind of have like what happened with the school, is they got done, and then they had to wait for the spring for everything to warm up so that the courts could take the epoxy paint and everything would bind properly, and it kind of delayed the opening.
Right.
For them. So our hope is that we can get it all done in the fall and have a grand opening in the spring to new courts.
Yeah.
And, as far as one of the other things I want everyone to start thinking about is the number of pickleball courts that we'd like to incorporate down there. The plan is to bring back all 6 tennis courts, and right now my thought is to take the last 2, what would be courts 5 and 6, and we could put 4 pickleball courts cross-lined on each of those 2 tennis courts. So you could have up to 8 pickle matches going, and then 4 regular tennis matches going at a time.
Probably should talk to the high school tennis coaches too about that. In most cases, in high school matches, and of course they can move to the high school courts, you have 2 singles matches and 3 singles matches and 2 doubles matches, I believe. So the need may be for 5 courts. You may just keep that in the back of your mind as if you're talking about taking 2 of the 6. Just want to talk to a few people about that.
Yeah, I've been talking with Tina Hoskins about it. She runs a tennis loft. She's one that's down there kind of working with us and providing one of the people who's providing lessons down at the courts now. And they're getting overwhelmed, I think, with pickleball, so much so they actually added temporary tape lines to court 5.
Yeah.
So there are actually 2 pickleball courts running now. And so we'll have to look at I'll talk to Travis, in case they would need our courts for overflow, is they could have cross lining on them or not. It is one of the reasons that we are putting in the hard, the post-tension concrete courts, because if they were to need the courts for some reason, or in addition to the schools courts, it would have to be a hard surface court for MIA play.
Well, that's interesting because I'm not sure that they need hard courts for MIAA play because the high school has played out at the
Great Harbor,
Great Harbor, and those are clay courts
for tournament play.
for tournament. So you're talking about tournament.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's what they actually, not this year, but before the courts were finished, they actually played on the town's courts when they're in their first tournament year there.
Right.
They were trying to petition to play on the hard true courts, which I don't blame them. If anybody who's played tennis on hard true versus concrete, it's much nicer to play on the clay courts on your joints and everything. But I think because not a lot of municipalities will have hard true courts accessible, using a hard surface court is why I think is what the MAA requires for tournament play, just to make it
Yeah.
level across the state.
I'd be surprised if they ever get that appeal approved because of the disadvantage other people would be at when they come here, but
Yeah.
okay. And you know, the intent in building those courts, and I don't speak for the schools anymore, but the intent in building the school courts was to be used by the high school students during the season, but with the expectation that off-season they'd be used for the broader community. So,
Great.
And hopefully it'll be a good fill-in as we, as their spring, their schedule is mainly in the spring, so in the fall, they
right.
shouldn't have anything scheduled out there. So hopefully we'll be able to
Yep.
fill in. And we have a good relationship with Travis. We got them onto the turf field a lot this year, and then especially in the run, especially with the boys. They were on that turf, Thursday, Friday before the state championship. I'm sure that helped before they went off and brought the trophy home.
Yep. Any questions by any of the commissioners for Charlie?
No, I was going to mention about the boys, the school kids being able to use Great Harbor, which is awesome. And I'm sure they'll continue with that. So it should make more space then for people to be able to use the school,
Right.
which makes perfect sense.
Yep. All right. Charlie, anything else to bring up?
I think that's it for now. We're starting to do some work to the Tom Nevers softball field out there. We brought in 250 tons of infield mix so far, and so we're going to kind of fill that, get rid of the stone dust out there, and fill that in with actual infield mix. And then once Little League kind of wraps up their season, we're going to go in and attack the two Little League fields to kind of bring those playing surfaces up to grade. Just has been a lot of years of going in and removing material to get the weeds out and everything like that without putting more material in. So we found a good source for the infield mix. So we'll be starting that project. Out of Tom Nevers, the bathhouse is open. It's been repainted. It looks like a whole brand new building. So we're starting to do work those little outbuildings out of Tom Nevers into our facilities crews rotation, so they don't look quite as abandoned.
Yeah, that's great.
Wonderful. Well, I think that's the end of our agenda then. Is that correct, Charlie?
That is it.
And absent any questions from Nikki and Merrill, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion.
Thank you, Merrill, and
I
Nikki.
second that motion.
I appreciate that. And all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, we'll see you in a month, everyone.
Yeah,
Thank
keep an
you.
eye out
Great.
for an email from
Great.
me about possible trailer meeting date and times. And that's
Great.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you,
That's
Charlie.
awesome.
Have a great
All
day.
right. Thanks so much.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.